Okay, so you have an awesome opportunity. You've just been given a talking position in a panel. And a lot of times executives and leaders will aim for this kind of position because you don't have to shoulder entertaining people and speaking all on your own. Like, you have other people. But what some folks will often do is they throw away this opportunity and don't utilize it for really the way that you ought to, and that is a way to look prepared, look polished, and even connect with your team and your audience in a different way. So today, I'm going to get super nuanced and talk about what happens when you get selected for one of those panel discussions. And if you don't feel comfortable being in that role, you will after today. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the Sam Linton Show, the podcast designed to help you shift your mindset, find your voice, and change your world. Sam is a pastor, coach, and expert communicator, helping leaders and entrepreneurs like you step into their purpose, speak with confidence, and make a lasting difference.
All right. So you and I have been to conferences. You and I have gone to meetings where they have panel discussions, people that are on panels, maybe experts. I've gone to a lot of writing conferences, and the writing conferences will often feature some pretty big name writers or some people in the publishing industry who have built publishing companies. And so it's interesting to see how those people react to being center stage. Some of them do really, really well, and they hit it out of the park. And some of them, I don't know how else to say this, but I've seen people that are on panels and it's as if they're shocked to be there. They're like, it's like almost like the panel erupted around them in their living room. And they're like, I didn't know we were going to be doing that. They kind of don't know. So I'm going to give you some things. This is kind of a hodgepodge type of podcast today because we're going to look at it from a bunch of different perspectives. Of course, we're going to look at it from the communication side, but I'm going to kind of give you some things that you can do in terms of the preparation side that maybe you're not doing. And if you find yourself on the panel a lot, this is going to make you look like a rock star. Not that looking good is everything, but it's going to make you appear more confident in front of your team. So let's take a look at some things. So first thing we're going to do, as always, we start with this brain, this 8 pounds that kind of rules what we're doing. We have to look at this as a mindset shift. If you're used to getting up and speaking and being the one that's essentially in charge of what happens, you're going to find that this might suck for you. I don't mean to say that in a negative way, but if you do tend to long for hogging the microphone, this has got to be a mindset shift that takes place. You have to look and go, I'm not here to essentially steal the spotlight and create content for myself. I am here to elevate those around me and to illustrate and educate the audience. I'm there to elevate those around me, and I'm there to illustrate and educate the audience. I'm there to provide for them. And you actually have less pressure because you're not the one that has to come up with everything. So if you go into this thinking that you have to prepare a long talk and every time you get called on, you go through your talking points, you're going to lose. But if, however, you go into this with a mindset that it's going to be maybe a little bit organic, maybe more things are going to happen that you didn't plan than that you did, you're going to do a lot better. I'm going to, kind of spoil it a little bit. I love watching some political debates. I've watched a ton of debates, presidential debates in my lifetime. I'm sure all of you have watched other political debates in your lifetime. Most notably, they've taken more center stage because of President Donald Trump. And what makes his debate style unique is his absence of prep. I'm not saying he doesn't prep, but what I'm saying is he goes into those debates and he is very much focused on, number one, what the opponent is doing, and number two, what the audience is responding to. So Trump does better when there is a crowd that can kind of feed him energy, and he draws off of that energy. Again, this isn't a political thing. This is like it or not. And most, if not all, speakers that are used to speaking in a controlled way, they don't like the audience part. But Trump actually grows bigger with that, even when it's adversarial. It's a case in point. Look at him when he's answering press questions. Like, he actually grows stronger the more adversarial the questions become. But if you get him that energy in a room from people, if they respond well to what he's doing, he gets really, really galvanized. And so, believe it or not, you can learn a lot from that. Like, I'm not saying don't prepare, but I'm saying that the audience and the people around you are going to actually help you to do better. So the mindset shift, the main mindset shift, is the success of that panel is not dependent on you. You are not carrying that weight. And you can go in there thinking, the audience is going to say something. The people that are asking questions are going to say something. The moderator is going to say something if you're not the moderator. My other colleagues on the panel are going to say things. And you can build off of that panel. So that's the second thing. All right, now that's the mindset shift. Now let's get into some prep, because again, I don't want to say don't prep, but I'm going to say that if you prep too much, you're going to be in your head. But I do think some prep is going to help you. So I'm going to give you some of the things that you want to think about if you're going to be on a panel. Number one, know kind of what the landscape of that panel is. So meaning, what are you there for? Who's in the audience? Who's going to be moderating? What do you know about the moderator? What do you know about the people that are in the panel with you? Do you know much about their companies? Do you know much about, if they're in your company, do you know much about what their departments do? Do you know what they're responsible for? Sometimes there's a panel of executive leaders set up for bigger events. Like, I was coaching a lady who had the keynote as the CFO of a large organization, but then she had to be on a panel with the rest of the team from the C-suite. So I told her it would become you to kind of know a little bit about what's going on in the roles around you. So what is the CEO, what is their initiatives, which most people know what those are. What's the initiative of the CTO? What are they working on? Are they trying to neutralize security threats? Are they trying to build up infrastructure? Like, what is it that they are responsible for? And then that way, when you go in, you can speak. So, and when I say this, you want to be 50 miles long and an inch deep. So you don't want to know, okay, well, on Thursday, the CTO got an email and the email bounced back. Like, you don't need to know that much. You just need to kind of know what they're doing. You should know that anyway if you're speaking on behalf of a company. If you're speaking with other people that are not a part of your company, then Google is your friend. So go on and take a look at their companies. Go on and take a look at what they essentially are known for at their companies. Maybe look to see if you've seen them speak before. It'll go a long way. Now I'm going to shift into, aside from knowing the landscape and the moderator and who's there and the panels, we are going to now go into what I call the core. And these are going to be the talking points that you prepare. So this is a little contrary to conventional wisdom, but it's going to go a long way in terms of your confidence when it comes to how you prepare. So I'm going to tell you about the 3 things that you need for each, I want to call them points or talking points, or we'll give them like outline bodies that you will have to come up with when you are speaking, because there's a reason why they asked you to be on the panel. It's not because of your good looks. It's not because of your sense of humor. You're not me, obviously. I'm just kidding. But they asked you to be on a panel because of some level of expertise. So if I'm going into a panel cold, I'm going to pick 4 common talking points that most likely I was selected to represent. So we're going to pick those 4 talking points. And, whatever those be, those 4 key ideas, those 4 key things. And I'm going to break these down into 3 parts. I'm going to call this the triple S talking point formula. All right, triple S talking point formula. So first thing is a soundbite. Second thing is a story. Third thing is a stat. Soundbite, story, stat. Now, I am being really, really vague, but I'm going to make it really, really practical by giving you some examples. But if you remember that, that's your outline. So that's what you're going up there with. You're not going up there with a talk. You're not going up there with a manuscripted formula, heaven forbid. But you're going up there with the triple S formula for talking points. So soundbite, that's one line that represents what you're going to talk about. An example. Okay, so I'm going to give you I'm going to use a real life example here. So we are in the middle of building a massive church worship center. The senior pastor has been literally working on this for decades, and we finally are at the finish line. So we've been doing a lot of question answer things at different events, and we're going to be going into more of those question answer things. I'm going to be moderating a lot of that. So what I plan to do is have one soundbite. The soundbite would be something that you stand for. So our church outgrew the location that we planted it in. That would be the soundbite. One story. Easter Sunday. It breaks my heart when I was looking out right before I was about to get into the pulpit, and I saw cars that came up into the parking lot. And once they saw how full the parking lot was, they turned around and they drove away. These are most likely visitors, people that didn't have a place to go on Easter. And they left because of no space, okay? And then one stat. Now, when I say stat, I don't necessarily mean that it has to be a statistic, but it could be. It has to be something hard in terms of evidence, something hard in terms of proof, something hard in terms of data that your audience would relate to. So one supporting stat is that, I'm making this up now. I don't know the stat, but I'm sure there's about like 70% of people, when they try a church for the first time, if they can't find space at the main service, they will not return. All right. Now, I don't know if that stat's true. Don't quote me on that, but I'm just saying that would be one of my sound bites. So if people ask me on a panel, why are we building a church? We outgrew our space years ago. All right, one short story. Parking lot on Easter, supporting stat. 75% of people that come when the main service is full will not return. All right, so this is, again, talking points. Now, you're not going to read these. You're not going to manuscript those. You are going to have them in your back pocket. So you want to have those like 3 or 4 core ideas. Why the heck did they? If you don't know why they put you on the panel, ask them. What do you want me there for? Oh, because you have executive leadership skills. Oh, okay. So you come up with some talking points around leadership. What do you want me there for? Ooh, because you made a jump from having a career as a traveling magician and now you're a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. How did you go corporate? Okay. So talking points around that. You want to see what do they want you on that panel for, and then craft 3 to 4 talking points with the triple S formula, soundbite, story, stat, that justifies your being there. Okay, so make sense? If it doesn't, I could coach you on this. I'm really good at coaching on these types of situations. If you were looking for coaching, as always, I'm going to plug my services. I am your guy. I work with executives. I work with teams. I work with event coordinators that are looking to edify the people that are coming to conferences. I'm speaking at a big conference in a couple weeks. Would absolutely love to be a part of your event. Podcast at SamuelLinton.com. Podcast at SamuelLinton.com. Now, so that's the shift of the prep. So next part of the prep, we talked about like your talking points, okay? Now we are going to talk about the prep with regard to questions. I don't know how much I can give you on this, except you definitely want to anticipate questions. And I'm going to give you some thoughts on questions. So first of all, if nobody, let's say you're moderating and nobody has a question, you need to have what I call the BPQ, the back pocket question. A question that gets thrown at the log church is, what are you going to do with the existing campus? So people have asked us, what are you going to do with the existing campus when you build the new one? Because they're really, really close, but they're separated by a couple parcels of property. What are you going to do with that old campus? You selling it? You're renting it? You rebuilding it? And the truth is, we're developing it in terms of always keeping it for worship space, but we might rent some of it out for some business. But these are some back pocket questions that I have. Another back pocket question is, people ask us, how much bigger is our new church compared to the old church? And people will ask that, and they're trying to get perspective, and it's right around 7 times the size. The original church is 7,400 square feet. The new one's 49,000 square feet. So we tell people this and give them that anticipatory question. Even if they don't ask it, this is a question that we have tended to get about the church. So you want to make sure you do that, and you want to make sure that you have some back pocket questions in case there are none. Because depending on who the moderator is, they might not be able to draw questions out of that audience. And you want to be prepared with questions that people would ask. Spoiler alert, if there's no questions that people ask, make the point that you are trying to drive home a question of clarification. So, for instance, we're doing this capital campaign, and if nobody asks a question about the campaign, I will say, one thing you want to think about that might cause confusion is people ask, well, do I have to give everything all at one time, or can I give to the capital campaign in terms of generous donations? Can I give it over a period of time? Actually, you can give it over a period of 3 years. You don't have to make the decision today to give today. You just have to make the decision of what you're going to pledge today. And so, as you see, that might not be a question, but it's a point that I'm trying to drive home because we're in the fundraising side of things. So you want to craft your question time, if you don't have any questions, to have questions prepared. And be aware that you keep the topic center by preparing your own questions if nobody has them. Of course, if they have a question, it's out in left field. I mean, you got to answer it. That's what the purpose of a panel is. It's not you speaking. It's an opportunity for your audience to get a chance to actually interact with you in a unique and meaningful way. So that's it in terms of the content. Now, I'm going to also give you one final thing of prep, and then we're going to get into what I typically talk about is how you show up in these things. And the typical thing of prep is that you are going to be asked to give some sort of introduction. And there, if you're asked to give an introduction, is, I would say, an amazing place for your one-liner. Your one-liner. That's your elevator pitch. That's kind of, if you're owning your own business or you're running a company, like give them your one-liner, give them your elevator pitch, give them your 10-second soundbite. So mine is, executive leaders need to speak confidently, but they don't often find time to do so. I'm the guy that comes in and bridges the gap between their knowledge of who they are in their business and how confident they appear when they're speaking. So that would be a quick one-liner. So if I was introducing myself of what I do, of course I'm a pastor and I could talk about that too, but I'm saying if this is for business and the company that I own, that's what we do. We help executives speak with the level of confidence that they lead. That's my job. I want to make that gap between your leadership and your particular set of problems with communication very narrow so that you feel just as confident running the company as you do running the meeting. So that's what I do. But you want to come up with some sort of opener because they most likely will ask you for an introduction of yourself. I'm Sam Linton. I work for this. Come up with something cool, dude. This is an opportunity for you to flex, to show that you're comfortable being there. And a little prep in this area goes a long, long way. Okay, so that's all the prep. I wouldn't go further. Remember, you're going to be vibing off of what other people are doing and saying. You're going to be talking with other people. You're hopefully going to have interaction. You don't want it to be monologue-y. So definitely leave room for that, but have some BPQs. Have your triple S formula for 4 talking points, so that way you're not caught up there with nothing to talk about. I don't know what to say about this. Like, why did they put you there? There's a reason why you're up there. It's not because you know how to dress. That's not what it is. Okay, now let's shift to the next part. And I've talked a little bit. I'm not going to talk about hostility when you have a hostility situation. I think we've already done a podcast on that, but that's a whole separate what happens when somebody's hostile. If you want, I could talk to you about that. You could email me at podcast@samuellinton.com if you have a hostile question. But if you're on a panel, that's typically not going to happen. That's kind of a different thing. So let me go to how you want to appear. Because when you are there on the stage, you are communicating something. You're communicating in a way just by being there. So I'm going to give you some body language generalities that'll help you to make sure that you are confident in the way you look, as in the way that you speak. So first thing, make sure your body language is confident. And I'm going to try to tell you to sit naturally, but you're like, I don't know what that means. Like, you don't want to sit in a way that you just feel comfortable, not comfortable for you, but you want to appear comfortable. There are ways that I sit when I'm speaking that aren't necessarily comfortable in terms of how I feel, but they are comfortable to look at because I know posture that is uncomfortable. So it might be comfortable to you. Now I'm on camera here, but I'm backing up. It might be comfortable for you to lean back and have your arms folded like this. Well, that's not comfortable to look at because it looks like you're standoffish. So you want to kind of sit up and, stand, kind of sit up or stand tall with your shoulders back. You want your feet planted on the ground and you want to look confident without stiffness. You don't want to be like you're a hot dog in a bun. You want to look as though you belong there and that you're happy to be there. And when people are speaking, pay attention to this. Look at the speaker, okay? Don't look at your phone. Don't look at your notes. Don't look at the moderator if the moderator isn't speaking. Don't look out the window if you're in a hotel, in a ballroom and managing. Look at who's speaking. That means if an audience person is speaking, even if it's not directed to you, you look at them. If the moderator is speaking, you look at them. If another one of your panelists is speaking, you look at them. You want to be present. Presence demonstrates confidence. It shows that you are out of your head enough to be present in the room. So, make sure that you are utilizing your eyeballs to demonstrate that you are paying attention. All right? All things that we talk about typically with speaking are still on the table. Your voice, you want to be clear, be conversational. You want to make sure that you are taking your time answering, that you're not flying through like you're on a bullet train. You want to make sure that you are listening to what people are saying and that you're not interrupting. All of this demonstrates confidence, all of it. But you have to be cautious about it. One of the questions that I was asked, this isn't a setup, but this is one of the questions that I get asked, is how do you dress? My thought about if you're on a panel, and again, I've been to writing conferences where people dress down and they dress in shorts, and I can't tell you how to dress for your event. I can only tell you that if you're an executive and you are on a panel, my take would be that you dress slightly above the level of the people that are asking you questions. So if people are just in polos and jeans or in t-shirts, I would wear a jacket. I almost always wear a jacket. But you want to be dressed a little bit better because you want to feel confident, but also, one of the reasons why you want to dress in a little bit of a better way is because you're demonstrating that you're a person that should be there and was planning on coming to have, sometimes 200 to 300 sets of eyes looking at them. So you want to dress better to illustrate that you belong there, if that makes sense. All right. So try to be professional. Try to carry yourself a certain way. Let's see. What else do I want to say about that? So that's it. So you want to care about how you're speaking, not just the prep. You want to make sure that when you're prepping, you're not over prepping, and you want to make sure that you're confident enough to be present in the moment. So with that said, thank you for tuning in to the Sam Linton Show. Shift your mindset, find your voice, change your world. Let me know if you're interested in coaching. We will see you next time.